know how badly I wanted to even believe the uh, the nonsense of a globe Earth. But when I started doing some simple
Oh
math, gentlemen,
my
simple math.
God.
Okay,
Yeah.
26,000 miles. The globe is supposed to be 26,000 miles in circumference.
Uh-huh.
Some simple mathematics will tell you that um, there should be 8 inches of uh, curvature for every mile of Earth. And when I look at everything, there is no curvature. Guys, we've been lied to about everything. This being the number one topper, and I apologize to, and I'm going to be frank right up front. I apologize for everyone when I continued and even held on to the belief of the idea that we live on a round ball. It's a
I
lie, bro. It's a total
I
frickin' lie.
okay, you got
I had the hardest time swallowing all this.
I'm
But
having a
this is
hard
this
time hearing you say that. 'Cause I can't. Not that I'm having a hard time. I can't believe this is coming out of
that
your
I'm
mouth.
saying this. Right.
Yes.
Now here we go. Here we go. When he supposedly sent up that supposed car of his up
Uh-huh.
into space, remember
I
his
do.
little. Well, it looks. The reason it's so real because it looks fake.
He could have gave it to
He was
me.
tell he was telling us what they did was a total hoax, all pulled off in the studio. Everything that NASA's done and have been doing is in their what are they called? Their pools, their their zero gravity water pools. So it's made to look like they're in space when they're supposed to be outside the space station. But yet it's hilarious when you see bubbles coming up from their spacesuits and bubbles just coming up in general from the cameramen filming these buffoons supposedly on spacewalks. Did anybody ever bother to question the fact who is the guy holding the camera as these buffoons are supposedly doing a spacewalk? Think about that for 1 second. They use that same strategy when they
Well,
launched the LEM, back
maybe
out
they
into
had a
space
selfie stick.
from the moon, right?
Oh,
They launched the
right.
to craft back
Absolutely.
out off the surface of the moon, back out into where was the big crater and all that. But who was filming that? Guys, we've been lied to about everything is an absolute filthy, disgusting lie by the elite oligarchs who are now destroying, or I just say genociding or eliminating millions of people per day through the clot, heart attack, thrombosis shots.
Well, let me just say
They're
this,
killing
Robert.
everything.
You've killed my plan now because I had a guy who's really probably one of the better people to go after that flat Earth thing, who was recommended by a great listener. And I was going to actually open my ears and just sit back and see what he had to say. And I looked at some of his work, and I got to say, it's awful damn convincing. That being said,
Exactly.
I thought, well, maybe I'll have Robert on to debate him on it. Well, that wouldn't
Right?
work now, would it?
Well, I'm going to have to look.
I used to be in the Navy. I spent a little time on the ocean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't stand in Miami, pull out a telescope and see Cuba. It's not going to happen. But whatever, it's all a belief system, right?
Well, it's
kinda
hold
like
on a
lights,
second now.
you know.
Here's
Right.
the deal, though. Just really quick. Here's the deal, because the cameras have gotten extremely, sophisticated. They're now what we would think would be the horizon where the ships are going over the edge, or going down. There's no down because when those cameras are so powerful, now they're focusing in at 60, 70 miles, literally. You can see the ship
Telescope
floating
is not
right
a
across
camera,
the
and
water.
it's 20 miles.
So, in other words, it's still a flat plane. Nothing's changed. But here's the other side of it. Okay,
No.
if okay, if the
Take a cruise.
you're,
Get out and see the world.
you're on the ship, right? And it's supposed to be going. Oh, it's supposed to be going down. But what about the other parallax of that, where we see the rotunda from left to right? We should see a curvature. There is no curvature, gentlemen. I mean, when I woke up,
and it's not summer in Australia. Oh, there is no Australia. I'm sorry.
No, there definitely is in Australia. It's just we live.
It's summer in Australia right now, but that's okay.
Right.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Lockdown.
Why? How is that possible?
I don't know. It must be a ring around the earth or some shit. I don't know. Whatever.
But here's the deal, right?
Excuses,
Flat
but whatever.
plane
I
with a
can
dome
never
firmament.
make sense of it.
And there are tons of videos on this. People who have done investigations, massive investigations.
I'm sure there
by
are.
the way,
there's a lot of videos. I've seen some very convincing videos. But you know, you're going to go up there and prove it. You're going to take pictures and come back, or you're not going to make it.
Well, what about? Hold on.
I mean,
hold
it's
on.
something.
Let me pop up.
Like I said, I spent time in the Navy. Where the sky meets the water is 20 miles. That'll tell you.
Okay.
Is that why William Shatner was crying when he came back to see that it was flat?
Did you ever see any curvature when you're looking out from the boat and looking out to the water? Did you ever see any curvature at all? It's just a flat plane. I mean, you could see it with
when you're coming into
it's a
port,
flat
when you're
plane.
coming
There's
into
no
port, you
curvature.
see the building tops, and it goes from the top down to the bottom. That's just the way it goes. I mean, everybody who's taking a cruise knows that.
All right. Here we go. Now, look, there are people who have put up balloons. We're talking about not non-governmental people, right? People who want to know the truth, who put up balloons, who have gone 240,000 feet up with the cameras, with the non-convex or concave cameras, just a regular old lens.
Yeah, but
that
according
exactly
to what you're telling us,
hold on. Can I?
Everybody would see the sun all damn day long.
240,000 feet up, your eye never has to look down. In other words, your eye is always at level plane. You're never looking down to see Earth because of the curvature. It is always meeting you at eye level because it's a flat, motionless plane. This is the videos that I have seen put up by independent researchers who said, no, this has been a big freaking lie from the get-go. And who are the founders of all this? The Rockefeller Foundations, along with the Rothschilds. The Rockefellers encapsulated the entire medical
and planes
system.
Took down the Twin Towers.
One man encapsulated the medical system. What about the scientific facts of all this? Who were the beneficiaries or the benefactors?
Exactly.
Of all
Very good question.
That's a good question.
So you see, the victors always write the history, and our history has been one giant lie. One after the other.
That's a good one.
The fake moon landings, the fake wars.
So wait a
World
minute.
War I,
Are you
World
telling
War
me
II, Vietnam, Korea,
Robert,
on and on.
Are you telling me then that there's no Mars, no Jupiter, no Venus, none of that?
What I'm simply
there are no
saying
eclipses,
is what we're seeing,
none of that stuff. No,
what we're seeing through that firmament
there are no seasons.
is a big freaking lie because, there's another part to this. That, of course, that information was all suppressed as well. But the bioluminescence within water, which is created through friction and frequency, which, when created within the water itself, becomes energetic and electromagnetic and creates what you would call a star in a jar. This information's been out there a long time, and I had known about this a while back ago, but then again, that information got suppressed until now it's resurfaced again. Or at least for me, remembering or just saying, oh yeah, I remember that. And when you see bioluminescence in water created through frequency, and it looks like, well, look, take a telescope, guys. I've done this. Take a telescope, put it up in the at a star. Does it look like our sun, like a glowing ball of burning, whatever?
It does look. It looks like you never
because
see.
Stars don't look like that. Well, I've looked at them through the telescope.
But I have looked at Saturn. I was going to say I have looked at Saturn and Jupiter through telescopes and Mars, and I've seen Saturn's got the ring, and I've seen Jupiter. I could see them, through the telescope, but I've never been there.
What telescope, Michael? Because I use just my own home telescope.
Oh, I used a telescope from Astronomers Group.
Okay, well, that's fine, the Astronomers Group, but I'm simply saying what I know, what I've seen, and what everything has been talked about, what we're looking at is not what we've been told. Put it that way. Just leave it at that. I don't think the stars are the stars and the planets are the planets. I think there's something else totally different going on. When you have scientists who have put this information forth, who have gone to the outer walls of Antarctica, okay, and the outer wall is the dome ring of Antarctica, which goes in circumference of more than 70,000 miles, more than that. And yes, they do have stations set up. And guess what else they have set up? They have ships, military ships, right? Governmental military ships who turn back boats all the time saying, no, you can't come here, you can't come here. Why is it that in a free world, okay, in a piece of land that is supposed to be free without any
have you
national attachment to any of these countries?
Have you searched for an Antarctic cruise? Have you searched for an Antarctic cruise?
Say that again?
Have you searched for an Antarctic cruise?
Have I searched for an Antarctica? Cruise? No.
Do that.
I haven't.
Do it.
And for what reason?
Because they have cruises in Antarctica.
Yes, they have cruises they have cruises that will take you to the small little stations that won't allow you to go anywhere else. In other words, they'll take you and say, hey, this is Antarctica. And then you go back the same way you came. It's not like you're going in circumference around this barrier, ice wall. But if you look at the footage that has been taken by scientists, you see this ice wall barrier that goes on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Okay, so what about the 24 hours of light in the South Pole in the winter?
24 hours of light in the South Pole. Well, if there's it's circular, right? You have the sun inside the firmament, by the way, including the moon, and it is a circular motion. There you go.
Okay. And it's summertime. Yeah. All right.
Well,
I need a hit of acid.
Well, look, I know this is difficult to even understand and accept it. I went through the same thing. I really did. But looking at all the evidence shows that we are on a flat plane. That's it. There is no curvature. If someone can show me curvature, I'm still waiting for this. See, this is the whole thing I was looking for. Show me the curvature. But when it comes down to the scientific real evidence, no, there is no curvature. All the look. About the guy
have you been on
NASA
a cruise?
Who said he created all the CGI or paintings, including CGI from NASA?
So the answer is no.
And what about the photographs from NASA? Never showing, Earth as a whole. But here's one even better yet. They say we have 50,000+ satellites, right? We have 50,000 satellites circulating the Earth all the time, round and round. Can you ask me this, or can you answer this question for me? How come we don't have one satellite dedicated to Earth that people can see 24/7? There is none. How come that doesn't exist, guys?
Well, I mean, they do.
I don't know. Maybe they're so far up there, and they're so small. I don't know.
Come on,
I mean,
guys, be realistic about this.
How do you get satellite television?
Because
how do you get satellite TV or satellite radio?
It's cable. It's
or
all
GPS.
Cable transmissions. It's all cable and sat phone transmissions, not sat phone, but the repeater towers for not for satellite, but for cable transmission communication lines. That's all it is. Do you know how? I actually looked into this. Do you know how many cable transmission lines have been laid across from the United States over to Europe to today?
Went to my satellite.
There are literally, like hundreds of these cables. They have been running back and forth with higher and higher ability to transmit, a greater swath of information as the technology has improved. What about the videos that I've seen of these balloons holding these satellite-type objects that have come down in people's, area?
Okay, hold on.
This has happened.
Hold on.
This has happened is a fact.
How about, now I got a question too now. I've seen videos, like many on YouTube and other places, where people hook balloons to their cameras and send the cameras up. And through those cameras I see curvature. Now,
look, the ones that I've seen put up by people who are simply looking for truth, I've never seen no curvature. They're not using a fisheye lens. In other words, a convex. So it gives you that bubble type.
That's what I've been told.
Look.
So I guess it wouldn't do me any good to note that the magnetic north and south poles are moving and they're shifting, and the South Pole is now over at Australia and the North Pole in Siberia. I guess it wouldn't do any good pointing that out.
Well, maybe
Go
it's
ahead.
just
Carry
one
on.
pole.
Carry on.
Maybe it's just a monopole. Have you thought about that? That maybe it's just a monopole, or it is a toroidal system that is creating that magnetic charge centered, pointed directly through the center,
Aurora
which
Borealis?
goes, by the way, directly to Polaris, which is the center North Star, which, by the way, never, ever moves, which is extremely bizarre. And another thing I'd like to point out, these SOBs tell us that the planet is rotating at 1,000 miles an hour, okay? And that at 1,000 miles an hour in 24 hours. Then we are going in motion through our own solar system at 100,000 miles an hour, okay? And then they tell us that with that the sun,
so we're a plate
supposedly, with us going around with are moving in 1 million miles a day. I have a question. I have a real simple question. With all these hundreds of thousands and millions of kilometers that we should have moved, let's say from, 20 years ago, okay? Let's go 20 years back. Moving at millions and millions of miles an hour. You think that the location of the stars would have changed. But they always tell us, they're so far away that it doesn't matter how many, how many hundreds of millions
I
of
see
miles
what you're
move.
saying.
They never move. They never shift out of place. Well, then how come Polaris is always centered? The single center star, the North Star over the North Pole, supposedly, okay? How come it never deviates from center? You guys ask yourself these questions. These are the questions that I ask myself, the hard questions, the questions I didn't want to ask because my ego would not allow me to.
Hey, let me just say this, guys. Ego. Robert has always been a component against this whole flat Earth thing, which he just surprised the hell out of me tonight, just for the record. I was very surprised to hear this. Yeah.
Wouldn't shadows be the same length no matter where you're at?
Ask yourself this question, okay? Ask yourself this question. And you can do this experiment yourself because I actually did this. You guys, I did this. Take a bulb like Mr. Sagan did. Remember back in the 80s when he did Cosmos? You remember that? That nonsense he tried to pull, which he did pull on everybody, by the way, including me. He took a light bulb and put it way down at the end of the room, okay? And then had this little ball, which was Earth. The whole light, which I never realized till now, was completely diffused. In diffused light, how can you have rainbows? How can you have light scatter? How can you have how can you have a rainbow? You can't. It doesn't exist. It's not possible. Now, if you take a source of light that's very close within the cloud structure, which when clouds pass through and underneath just the sun, and the rays scatter, they scatter in a diffused, how do I want to say it? In the diffused light where it shines out at different degrees from its point. You can't have that from a source that's 93 million miles away because all the light is diffused. These are the things I've been questioning. All of this crap. We've been lied to about everything, guys.
So if you have a sun or a bright orb that's directly above the planet, it's not going to be seen by the other half, according to this disk you're talking about? It's going to be there somewhere.
The light source, which is our sun, is basically about 3,500 miles above this flat plane. And it goes in a circular motion. The moon,
and it's never
slowly follows it goes a little slower behind it. That's why it is never in perfect sync with the sun. But here's another thing. Here's another thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the seasons, though? He's right about that. I mean, how come?
But here's the
Okay.
seasons work the same way. Okay, it works as as the sun goes around through the season. In other words, as its circular motion closes in closer to, let's say, the North Pole. So it comes in a little closer, and hence the seasons change, all right? Then it wanes itself back out like in a corkscrew, almost in a sense. Not corkscrewing down or up, but just in a rotational corkscrew, which goes outwards and then inwards on a seasonal basis. That's what creates the seasons. That's it.
So what creates the northern lights?
Thing. Here's one more thing. Why?
Aurora Borealis. What causes that?
Well, hold on. Why is it when you take the temperature of the moon at night, okay, when you take the temperature in the shade, it's actually warmer than when you take the temperature of the direct moonlight, that it actually becomes colder? What's the explanation for that?
I never noticed that.
These are all questions, and as I
noticed the heat from the sun.
To understand more, I'm absolutely convinced. As a matter of fact, not convinced, I absolutely know wholeheartedly we live in a flat plane, which should also tell us this, guys, that we are much closer to the source of what we really are than what we were ever told. All this nonsense about moons and galaxies and hundreds of trillions of light years is all a fantasy to separate us.
It has no effect on your daily life. Has no effect on your daily life at all. None.
It really don't for the small part of it, our existence per se, but I mean for humanity as a whole, I think it does.
Really,
matter.
it has no existence, really. Okay, so let's talk about if it has no bearing or no reality. Let's talk about all the sci-fi.
I didn't say
Let's talk about all the sci-fi. They based the reality off this. Star Trek, Star Wars,
it has no
every other
bearing
Star
on your
movie based
everyday
on
life.
No,
I didn't say
yeah, he's
about
saying it has no bearing on your, like, it's not going to change what you do or who you are tomorrow, is what he's saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I missed that. Well, to me, it does, because when you simply realize that you're much closer to source than you ever were, and most likely you are source, that destroys the plans of the elite.
That's a given.
Destroys
God is within and without.
Because they believe that the further they can separate us, the easier it is for them to manipulate us and continue on their forging ahead towards the New World Order, transhumanism, and God knows whatever else they want planned for us. But when you realize that you're so much closer to the source that they can't separate us, this is their biggest fear, because so many people are waking up right now. And granted, the waking up is on so many levels. Look at me. I woke up from the reality that I thought we lived on a ball to a flat, motionless plane. To me, it's absolutely 100% positive at this point. There's nothing that can disprove what these people have said.
I think that waking up is realizing you are your own control mechanism. That's waking up. And the only one who has authority over you is you, which was declared in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
And how you live your life, there's no one above you and no one below you. The only one above you is the Creator, God. That's it.
Hey, Robert.
And that's what affects my life.
Then I got to ask you this. Then does that mean that Nibiru and Planet X is all a hoax?
Yeah, well, at this point, I have to believe it is.
All right.
I actually have to believe it is, because I, again, like everybody else, was drawn into that belief. Well, here's the thing. Drawn into the belief without any evidence. That was the issue. So I always had the belief. But now I don't have a belief anymore. I have a reality which has been shown to me physically and mathematically. This is something that wasn't shown in any of those things. Now, one quick thing I need to say is that aliens or beings, just other beings, are not extraterrestrial, but they're interdimensional beings. They are coming here, and this is a fact. We've all seen this stuff. Michael, you, me, everybody. We've seen it. These are crafts that are coming through dimensions. That's why they blink in and blink out. They don't go speeding off at the speed of light or whatever, out into space. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But they are blinking in and out. And I'll give you a perfect example of this is going back to the Billy Meyer information, excluding what Michael Horn and his nonsense is all talking about, because he's lost his mind, that man. But
wow, you used to be all about Billy Meyer too.
But if you see the crafts, they blink in. On the footage, they blink in and out. That means they're interdimensional crafts. That means they're coming from another frequency, another plane. So what does that tell us, guys? That there are many frequencies and many planes. This is just one of what we're living on. But to me, you know what? It's all good. I say, with what everything's going on, Michael, and I think you pretty much know my stance. Hey,
I do.
Go take 10 shots. Okay, go take 10 shots. Get yourself out of here, because you're going to have to go reincarnate over and over till you understand what's going on. This is an awakening, and it's an epiphany for everybody. Now, I'm saying, for me, I already know what my epiphany and my awakening is.
The way you're defining this, the way you're describing this, you'd have to say that the sun would move faster if it goes around like above the Tropic of Capricorn, as opposed to when it's closer to the pole. So the sun would have to change speeds, right? Right?
Yes. It slows up, and it's
depending on the time of year.
It slows down, speeds up. Right, because the reason it speeds up or slows down is because it's closing in on its own circular movement.
And at that altitude, given a flat Earth, at that altitude, you can't see it from the opposite side.
Correct.
It only puts out so much.
You can't.
It only It only puts out so much. Have you ever say, look, just do this. Do me a favor, Pop. Do me a favor. Before you criticize me or go crazy on this, do me a favor. All I want you to do one night, okay? Put yourself an outline on the floor. Get some tape, masking tape, okay? And put a circular outline on the floor. Then take a regular 24-watt bulb, okay? And hold it at about chest high, okay?
and then slowly walk around circularly around that
What's
tape.
that going to do?
See how much of that area actually lights up. That's what I want you to do.
What's it going to do, though? You need a much higher altitude. This is what you're talking about.
No, you don't.
Much higher altitude.
You don't. If you have a domed firmament, you do not. Okay, look, the dome itself.
Height is height. From a flat ground, height is height. Period. End of frickin' story.
Right. And at 3,500 miles, the sun being at about 25 miles in circumference itself, would light up a quarter of the area as it's going around. So, hence, it would light up each quarter of the planet as it's going in a circular motion. With a 25-watt bulb doing that experiment is exactly what would happen.
So, the way you're defining it right now, that sun is going like a bat out of hell, and they're seeing a lot of daylight in China.
Yeah, right now
for some reason, I don't know how.
Exactly.
I don't know how they're seeing all that much daylight. I mean, being way on the outside like that, but because there is no southern hemisphere, right?
I know because
it's like there's no Brazil, there's no, Brazil is gone, China's gone, everything below the equator is just gone. There's no summer this time of year.
Well, I've always thrown this stuff out as crazy, and I'm still not convinced of a flat Earth. I'll tell you that. Okay, I will say, this one guy who this listener sent me to, I could see, and I want to say I could see where he could get you thinking that way, and that it might even be true. Who knows? I haven't been up in space. That being said, I believe we're on a round Earth, but I can't prove it.
Here really quick, Mike.
I can.
Why would they have to fake moon landings and moon launches? Why would they have to fake that if they could go to the moon?
Because they don't want us to see what's there.
Ask yourself, guys.
Well, because they probably didn't really go, and they want
because they probably couldn't really go because there's nowhere to go.
Well,
That's
I think
the whole point. That was the whole point. There was nowhere to go.
Well, I think my take on this has always been that they just didn't show us the real footage, and that they did do a fake one too, and that's what they show us now. That's always been my belief. I don't have evidence of that. I'll say, but what I was saying to Papa is like, it's hard when that's just like somebody who's convinced Planet X is coming. I mean, that's why I just talk with folks about this stuff, because I mean, you can argue till you're blue in the face. If somebody believes, just like someone that believes in Jesus or anything else, they feel like their evidence is solid, and they try to share it with you. All I could do is listen. I know Robert is a sane man, and I know that he's always believed in a round Earth, and so some things convinced him differently, and I'm just going to say, at this point, I agree to disagree. I don't, but maybe I could be convinced. I might be able to.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All you got to, but here's the thing, you don't need any of that stuff. I mean, all you have to do, Mike, you live by the ocean?
Yeah.
Go out and look at the ocean. For as far as you can see, do you see any curvature?
Go look at Bimini
anywhere?
Island. Go look at Bimini Island. Get your telescope out and look.
I'm talking about the curvature of the Earth, not Bimini Island. I'm talking about the curvature. If you stand at a beach, you should be able to see for 100 miles. You're standing at the beach, right? And you should be able to see for 100 miles in either direction, east or west, on a flat, clear plane, right? Well, that's all you see is a flat, clear plane. Where's the curvature? If there's by the map that NASA gives us, the scientists at NASA give us, they tell us the Earth is 26,000 miles in circumference. For each if you do the calculations through calculus, okay, or algebra, or just basic math, on curvature on 26,000 miles, there should be 8 inches of curvature for every mile. Every mile. Do the math, guys.
Shouldn't you be able to see Australia from the top of Mount Everest with a nice telescope?
This is their math.
Oh, you should be able to see everywhere from Mount Everest.
This is their map. This is
but it's
their map.
not.
Why is that?
Tells you.
It'd be daytime
so if there's no
every day.
curvature for there should be 8 inches
24/7.
of drop or curve for every mile. Where's the curve?
From the highest point on the planet, from the highest point on the planet, it would be daylight every damn day, all day.
No, wrong. Because the opacity or the radiance of the sun is only capable of putting out so much light. And its circumference at
and
about
it only goes below it.
3,500 miles
Gotcha.
going around at a certain speed is only going to light up certain portions of the ground.
Yeah.
Do the experiment. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
like I said, I was in the Navy. That's all the experimenting I need.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean much, just being in the Navy. What about
being out in the ocean doesn't mean anything? Being out in the ocean so far you can't see any land anywhere around you doesn't mean anything? You can do that in one of the Great Lakes.
well,
Wait a minute. What about water? Okay, what happens when you put water in a bowl, right? It's on a level, flat plane. If you turn the bowl, what does the water do? It remains in a level, flat plane. It doesn't curve.
What turn?
Water doesn't curve. Water's not magnetic. Water can't curve.
Well, what was holding you on the planet?
It's called pressure and density and weight.
Pressure and
there is
density.
no gravity.
So
That's
if you
another
jump,
bullshit made
so
up
if
nonsense
you jump,
by these people.
the Earth is going to move under your feet before you can go straight down to it, right?
But the Earth isn't moving. That's my point. We live on a flat, level plane. It doesn't move. And when you have earthquakes, those are shifts of
all the stars and everything else are moving up
the
there,
upper
right?
Firmament,
All the stars and everything are moving. The Earth isn't moving. The stars are.
I didn't hear that part.
He said the Earth is what's moving, the Earth or the stars?
Right.
If you go straight up at a helicopter, hang out there for about 2 hours,
all right.
come straight down where you're going to be.
Okay. So what happens is that
I'm done with this.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we don't have to talk about it anymore. It's cool. All I'm saying is, you know what? Look at it. Do a little bit of investigating, and you might find.
And I've got a video.
This is
I've got
very,
a video
very
that will
real
debunk
thing.
every aspect of that.
All right, and guys, I've got to take a break, so both of you, all three, you actually hang on, and you know what? That was interesting. I'll say that, and you know, I got a guy who's going to be coming on, and I'm telling you, if anybody can make you look at this with a keen eye, this guy will. Now, me, I'm skeptical. I sit behind this mic and I say, okay, anything's possible. I mean, there's things I've been lied about too that I would have never thought were lies in the past, and you know, so I've learned that if somebody says that you know, a Raggedy Ann doll could come alive and choke me to death, who am I to say it can't happen? And that goes with everything else. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I don't know what to say. Robert made me speechless because I just couldn't believe he went there. But that was, I mean, hey, I'm not going to criticize, though. What do I know? I can't go up there. I think I know, but then he thinks he knows too. And who am I to say he's wrong? Who's to say I'm wrong? I'm just going to, you know, like everything else, look into it. Here's the good news. You want some good news? The good news is Planet X, it's not coming. So fire up your grills,